What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is chilly season here in Michigan, so we're dusting off the ice gear. And in this video, we want to talk to you about how to choose your combos if you're a beginner, even up to intermediate in ice fishing, which defines me. Paul's been doing it longer than I have. First of all, we're aggressively average anglers. That's what we describe ourselves as. And when it comes to ice fishing, I've got, what do I have, 2 seasons under my belt?
Ish.
2 seasons. This is season 3 that we're going into, and I feel like a freaking veteran now. No, I don't. So I'm still learning stuff along the way. Paul's been helping me a ton with that. We've been watching tons of great videos, and we want to give back in a way since we've purchased a lot of combos. We bought a lot of reels, a lot of rods, put it together like our own custom combos. We've bought pre-made combos, all that stuff. So we're going to contribute some advice that we've learned along the way here, right? And if you guys enjoy the content, if this video is helpful for you, be sure to subscribe, smash a like, and ring that notification bell so you can see when we drop more content. There's a lot more ice stuff coming this season.
Because we have no choice.
Because it's true. If we can squeeze out a little steelhead trip.
You know a guy.
We know a guy. It might happen. So steelhead's the only other thing that might happen before the ice really comes in on our lakes. So when the hard water season hits, which would probably be realistically January, February, more like February, then we'll be out on the ice and we'll be using these combos. So let's dive right into the video here today. We're talking about beginner to intermediate ice fishing combos. How do you build them? How do you select your reels? How do you select your rods? I think we just start with our combos. We'll kind of walk through why we picked what we picked, and we're going to be upgrading the arsenals a little bit this year. So I know you just filled your cart.
Yeah. Ice fishing is one of those things I think you can be very comfortable picking away at, not really feeling like you need to go out
buy everything
and have 5 combos tomorrow. It's definitely not that situation. Don't feel like you have to go out and spend $90 on a reel and $120 on a rod. That is absolutely not the case. There's a lot to be said for inexpensive combos, ice fishing that will get you on walleye, panfish, and everything in between for like the $50 range very easily.
Or less.
And 1 or 2 setups will do just fine.
Yeah, I mean, for example, we're going to hit a few combos here. Like my first combo was $35, 13 fishing.
Absolutely.
So we're going to dive into them here, and I keep saying dive in. You know, it's a fishing channel. It's all about like...
I'm specifically not going to be diving in on any
Let's splash around
content.
with some combos. All right, you guys, so first off, let's start out talking about the species that you're fishing for. So it's important to understand, you know, you can fish for all the same species during open water season as you can during ice fishing season. It's just a little different how you do it, right? If you can find bigger bass, pike, walleye, lake trout, I mean, you're going to have different combos for those. Yeah. Right? So some of those...
And this is because predator fish, right? More of a fight, right? They got more weight, they got more power, and you need to have more rod to handle that fish, just like you would in warm water season, right? Your bass rod is not going to look like your pan fishing rod. That's the nature of the beast.
Absolutely. So for those rod combos, you're most likely going to see like a 28, 30, 32, 36. I've seen bigger, like just gigantic ice fishing combos so you can really fight that fish, okay? For us, most of what we do, 80% easily, maybe 90, is panfish.
Yes.
So we're mostly going after bluegill and crappie. Crappie is like the bigger fish that we're targeting.
And perch, yeah.
And then perch, perch, money fish to go after under the ice. So for those types of species, we're typically going for a shorter rod. And it's, you know, a lot of these are going to be light or ultralight because that's really all we need. So just to break it down that way, preface that before we go into the actual combos themselves. So let's start out with some inexpensive combos that you can go pick up right now. So if you go to the store, especially Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that, most likely what you're going to see is a whole bunch of 13 fishing because we were talking about this, pretty much cornered the market on ice fishing.
I would say they've cornered the market
and they make good stuff.
On high value product that you can find anywhere.
Anywhere.
That's the biggest thing, is you can get the product anywhere. It's good quality, but it's really high value. You're not paying a lot of money for some premium features. Yeah,
exactly. So for example, this is a thermo ice. You're going to see a lot of these in the stores. They're always in stock, and they're actually fantastic. For 25 bucks, you get this as a combo. We got a full cork handle there with a nice reel seat on it, screws down, super secure. You've got, this one is 24 inches, right? So it's about as long as I'm gonna go for pan fishing. This is like the higher end for me. It's probably more like crappie, something like that as far as length. All the other ones I have are shorter. And we'll talk about what I'm gonna pick up to, which is a lot shorter.
One thing I would call it is it's not so much about length, it's more about action.
Yeah.
Right. So
it is, Paul.
It is. Well, when it comes to rod length, like in ice fishing specifically, if you're newer, longer rods are just going to be more forgiving.
Yep.
You're going to be able to fight more fish. You're actually going to have really good sensitivity in a fast or an extra fast, which is what most ice fishing rods are going to come in.
This is.
And I think that 26 inches plus is probably what you should target as a new angler. So 26 to 30 some inches, I think as a new angler is a great place to start. No matter if you're targeting the smallest panfish or you're targeting like walleye or some of those like larger, even predator fish. The action is where you're going to dictate what kind of species you're going for. I would say for pan fishing, light is probably where you want to start. And as you get a little more skilled, ultra light. Medium heavy, that's what I'm probably looking at a medium or a medium light for walleye. And then as you get anything past that into pike or anything else, you're going to want to go for a medium heavy. Just again, general rule of thumb. And what I will say, you'll find yourself as you get more skilled and as you get more experience, you're going to want to drop down in rod size because you're going to want to feel all those subtle little bites. You're going to want that additional sensitivity, that immediacy of hook set that you're going to get with those smaller rods. But the nice thing about a longer rod, you're getting a stout hook set. You got a lot of fish fighting power. So if you're targeting panfish and you accidentally get a pike, you got a really good chance at landing that pike. It's gonna happen all the time. And then
bass mostly is what I end up.
And you're getting a ton of, again, it's a forgiving setup. The only drawbacks that I see to a shorter rod, you actually have to do more work as the angler. So you gotta, your elbows actually have to go up with the setup on the hook set because the rod's not doing the work for you. As you're fighting those fish with a really short rod, you may have to go as far as sticking your rod to down into the water to get the maximum amount of fish fighting power. Those are all things that you don't have to think about with a longer rod. So, as you get more skilled, again, you're probably going to a shorter rod as you're first starting out, or maybe you're just starting to target a new species. Just go for a longer rod. Most of my rods that you're going to see are actually a little bit on the longer side. But as I've gotten a little better, and as we do a little more of the run and gun, I've kind of gotten towards a shorter rod. So that's just there's nothing wrong with either one. That's just sort of the thought process to go behind as you're maybe selecting your first one.
Yeah, and like that's exactly it for me. So I'm obviously a beginner to ice fishing. This is my third season going after it. I have 4 combos right now. I'm upgrading to 6 this year, and all my combos are 23 plus, 23 inches. So the shortest one I have is 23. I'll show you in a second. But anyways, back to the thermo ice. If you guys want to pick one of these up, they're super cheap, 25 bucks. Again, does not come with this reel. I'll tell you about that in a second. Actually comes with a spinning reel. It's a little bit on the heavier side, but it's definitely great. Again, if you're a beginner, you just want to get into it. As you move into, your 3rd, 4th, 5th season ice fishing, you become more intermediate. That's where you'll see us swapping things out. So these are actually an exact swap combo. It's kind of funny. So this is the thermo ice reel with the white noise rod, and this is the descent reel, which is an inline reel. We'll talk about inlines in a second, with the thermo ice rod. These came alternated on the reels, and I just swapped them out today because Paul and I were just talking about this. So with the white noise, you can see this one right here. It's a little bit longer. This is a 26 medium. This is for bigger fish. So I swapped them out for the purpose of mostly like live baiting, right? We just talked about this a little bit. Live bait, bigger lures, that's what this is going to be for, because I don't need as much accuracy as what Paul was telling me before we started filming. So credit where credit's due for the spinning reel, right? You don't need as much accuracy, and that's what you're going to get with like the inlines. So you can see like I got a spoon tied on there. The white noise rod was how much? 20 bucks? The white noise rod was $25. That descent reel, which is what I had it paired up with before with that inline, is $39.99. So again, like you're seeing, these combos don't cost nearly as much as your bass fishing combos. I can easily spend $200 is like a joke on a combo for bass fishing. $200 is like all day. You're probably going to spend more.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so easy to spend $200 on a bass combo. On ice fishing, it's like sub $50 most of the time for rod and reel. And then as you upgrade, like I said, you get into that intermediate level, you start spending a little bit more, you buy the reel separately of the rod, and you make your own custom combos.
Just like with bass fishing.
Or you buy 2 pre-made combos and then swap them out. You can definitely do that.
For me, the difference between a spinning rig that you're going to use and an inline rig. So a spinning combo or a spinning reel is going to have the most flexibility. It's also going to give you the most fish fighting power because you have instant, high amount of ability to customize your drag at the drop of a hat. So if you're pan fishing or you're walleye fishing and maybe you get to a huge pike, you can instantly change the drag and fight that bigger fish. You're also going to have a better, faster, typically, rate of retrieve, right? So being able to bring that line up. So if you're fishing a lot of deeper water, I would absolutely recommend like anything over 30 or 40 feet, again, just in general, 30, 40 feet plus, you're gonna want a spinning setup. If you're targeting larger fish, you're gonna want a spinning setup. So that's my just like general rule of thumb with these. And also, basically anytime I get above a medium, for the most part, anytime I get above a medium, I want this type of reel, and spinning reel. Also for live baiting. For live baiting, this is gonna be a more quality option for you. So if you're using minnows as an example, or shiners or something like that, that's when I'm gonna wanna have a spinning setup. Now, contrast that with an inline setup. For me, inline setups are really more about shallow water and more about presentation. So if you're doing a lot of jigging, you're using plastics or artificial plastics, that is gonna be where you're gonna wanna have this setup. Why? You're gonna get a lot less line twist, you're getting perfect presentation, and with this pistol grip, Jeff, show them how the old pistol grip here.
The old pistol?
I actually like it this way where it's that, because I can have my finger, on the rod, but I can also have my finger right on the line right there. So I'm actually getting the highest amount of sensitivity for a really subtle bite. So if you're using tiny jigs and plastics or you're using like wax worms, that is where I'm gonna really wanna have the inline. So shallow water, lighter setups, just again, in general, that's when I'm gonna wanna gravitate towards the inline. Now the thing about an inline, they're generally gonna be probably 20%-ish more expensive than a spinning setup. So if Jeff talked about like the $40 price point, sort of like...
Yeah, this is the descent from 13 Fishing. It's $39.99.
For slightly less money,
for
like $30, you can get one of these Eagle Claw setups. So again, an inline, really inexpensive. It works. It was my first inline setup. I still have it. It's 5 years old, I think, at this point. But it's still more expensive than your kind of standard spinning setup. And I actually have a whole bunch, like if you want to save some money, or maybe you want to get a more premium rod, I have had this Gander Mountain ultralight spinning setup for years. This was like maybe the second reel I ever bought or third reel I ever bought. And I just use it on like my medium setup. It works really well. So you can get away if you have a couple of reels from your bass fishing or trout fishing kits. You can just poach it for a season, put some 4-pound test on it or 3-pound test on it, and you don't even have to buy a reel. So that would be, if you wanted to spend $50 on a combo and you wanted to get a higher end rod, you can get a higher end rod, spend the same amount of money, and just throw one of your old spinning rigs on there. So here's another example. This is an old Shakespeare. This will do you just fine for your first setup, right? There are gonna be some premium features that you can get your hands on with a better combo, but again, if you're just getting into it, I think that a medium level, medium quality, ultra light spinning rig is gonna be actually a great place for you to start for maybe your first or second ice fishing season. No problem.
All right, you guys, so as you get a little more specific, a little more skilled, like Paul was saying, you could go to like the ultralight, you could go to the shorter rods, and then you can go to more premium products, because guess what? You're gonna be happier with it. Just like with your bass fishing stuff, could you be extremely happy with an Abu Garcia Black Max? 100%, absolutely, I have been. That's the first bait casting reel that I learned to cast a bait caster on. And same goes for ice fishing. So I started out with like that thermo ice combo. Paul actually got me the white noise descent last year. That was my first inline. And then I started upgrading. Once I got comfortable with that and wanted to feel better about fishing, enjoy it more, because that's essentially what spending money in fishing does for you. Like with any hobby, it's like when you upgrade the cost, you end up with this higher value, more easily usable, enjoyable type product.
Oh, I think you like bring the quality of the gear up to your level of ability, right?
Yeah.
So your ability to really detect the difference between a $30 reel and an $80 reel, you actually wouldn't notice the difference in year one because you're just feeling it out. You don't have that like level of sophistication, like your skill level's not high enough. Maybe in year 2 or 3, you put 40, 50, 60 days on the water and ice, and all of a sudden you can say like, I can tell the difference between like a $75 Black Betty, like what Jeff has. Is that the Black Betty or the Freefall? Freefall. So an $80 reel on the left versus a $40 version on the right, you're actually going to be able to tell the difference. Yeah. You can actually see like, oh, I'm actually skilled enough to tell the difference. that's why I recommend, like, as you start ice fishing, it's more about getting it on the water, having serviceable gear. In years 2, 3, and 4, you know, as your skill level goes up, you want to have, you'd like to have equipment that can match the skill level and allows you to actually take advantage of those skills even more so. So what are you actually getting with a more expensive setup like this 13 Fishing Freefall? You're getting a trigger, so you don't have to adjust anytime you want to drop the line. You don't have to use your hand, you don't have to click a button. You just click this trigger right here.
And we didn't show the button on this, but on the descent, there's a button right here, and that is how you drop that line. So if you want to let it fall, it's going to be like that. Yeah, so you have to use that other hand in order to make that thing happen. Boom, boom, right? That is one-handed.
You just hit the trigger, this thing falls, you're reeling it up. So you actually are never having to take your hand off the combo. You're getting higher quality drag, you're getting higher quality materials, you're getting a stiffer overall frame, which gives you more contact with the rod. So a couple of small things like that. Yes, it's more expensive. It costs more money to manufacture, and ultimately it's a higher end material, so that's what you pay for. But again, all of those things add up to you being able to take advantage of that skill set of yours, which is growing. So as you get better, yeah, you may want to upgrade your equipment to go along with your skills.
100%. And the rod is exactly the same mentality there. So this right here is the 13 Fishing Tickle Stick. This is a 23-inch ultra light. And I gotta say, you guys, this is my favorite pan fishing combo of all time. 3 seasons in. but it's fantastic. So it comes with, I believe they call this like the Tennessee tip, 13 Fishing does. So this is the flat, right? So rods are typically what? Round. They're round down here, lower on the blank, but you can see that it flattens out towards the tip. And what that does is give you ultra sensitivity. This thing is extremely sensitive. And I know y'all are gonna be like, store your rod straight. Like you literally can't.
If there's any tension at all, if you have any weight, that thing is going to bend.
It's crazy. Look at that. And then your jig will just be floating around in your rod locker, which is bad. So
or you cut it off, right? Those are options. But the one thing you'll notice too is you're getting this like neon color tip versus the black here on the bottom.
Right.
The reason is that high visibility is allowing you to detect the most minute bites.
Which is why we use high vis line when we go Ned rigging or any sort of like the finesse fishing that we do during open water season. Same idea.
You're also getting direct contact with the rod blank, not something you see with every single ice fishing combo. So you can have an exposed blank right there. So as if you're holding your thumb on there right there, you're getting that like immediacy. You're recognizing that, oh, I've got a bite because you're feeling it. You know, you're directly contacted to the rod. Cork up here, which is great. So if you are a pistol grip kind of guy and you're holding your rod like so, your fingers, if it's either directly on the rod, it can be right next to it. And cork is probably that mid-level material of transmitting the most amount of vibration from your rod. So cork is like the middle. Foam would be like at the bottom because it's softer, right? The stiffer the material, the more you're gonna feel what's going on with the rod tip, and graphite being like the highest of the high end, which is what you're getting with this rod blank right here, right? You're getting that little graphite.
So as far as this year's combos upgrade, I'm gonna go with a shorter, as Paul was mentioning earlier.
I'll show you one right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with this that he's gonna show me.
So one of my favorite pan fishing rods that I've picked up is a 15-inch ultralight. It's made by a guy locally who makes these custom. It's called Frozen Puppy. This is a $35 rod, so it's not super expensive, but it's got some outstanding features.
High-end.
So what do you look at as far as high-end ice fishing rods? I want to see at least 4 guides before you hit the tip. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, in a 15-inch rod, you're like almost jamming those in. What does that do? That makes sure that you have the most amount of tension on the line. It also makes sure that when you catch a big fish, you get uniform bend, even in a really short rod. You're getting this uniform bend, more fish fighting power in a shorter rod. And again, it's ultralight. This thing is unbelievably skinny. You're also getting a hook holder, which doesn't seem like a big deal. And I'm not even using it, but it's just one added, again, it's like, what do you look for in a higher end rod? You want to see some small things like that. You're getting the cork handle. The one thing I would like to see on this is either all graphite or all cork, and that would actually I'll use electrical tape to get my reel on there. That's going to give you the highest level of sensitivity. But again, I'm a pistol grip kind of guy, so I actually am going to be all over the front of this rod, and I'm going to feel everything with the tips of my fingers before anything else. Really, I think reel seats are probably, higher end reel seats probably come in the most amount of usefulness when you're having to wear some kind of glove.
Yeah.
If you don't have your fingertips exposed and you can't do something like this, that's where the reel seat's really coming in when you have like a thin glove on. So, which in Michigan, anytime you're in January, that's probably when you're going to need it the most.
Yep.
So those are, and then you can also see it's got a white one. Maybe you can't because of the light, but you can see this is a black rod, and then you get the white tip. Again, this has got some of those things that if you haven't bought ice fishing rods before, you really wouldn't know what to look for.
Yep.
Those are some of the things to look for. Again, I like a shorter rod for pan fishing. I like this ultra short, ultra light rod because I can like feel every little thing. Yes, it requires me as the angler to do more, but I'm able to actually, again, leverage my skills more. So it's not a problem for me to raise my elbows up when I hook set on a small fish. It's just now become muscle memory. When I hook into a giant fish, I caught actually my best pike through the ice on this rod on a tiny, tiny lure. So it's just like, you know, again, as your skill set grows, you can figure out what you like and what you don't like and buy something that fits that mold. And this is that for me. So this has been for $35. I really don't know if you can go better than this. It's so fun.
Yeah, and locally made, like that's fantastic. So, I'm gonna pick up one of those, and I will either throw this reel on it or get another one. I don't know, but this is another version of the Freefall Ghost. This is the Blackout Edition. It actually says, I don't even know if this is true, but it says Glow Ghost.
Have we? I don't think we've tested it.
This is glow in the dark.
We're in a dark room. We're gonna test it right now.
I mean, you can see it's not charged, but you can see the triggers. Like,
oh, it's totally glowing.
Right. Okay, so can confirm does glow. I just checked that out.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see it on camera, so we'll talk about it later. But yeah, so any part of this that's white, the trigger and the actual spool, they glow. So I used the other Freefall a whole season last year. Absolutely love it. I love the trigger option. All that stuff is great. So I figure get another one. Why not? And you just got one, didn't you?
Yeah, and you know. Again, inlines are a little more expensive. I like the way they fish, and I pretty much am only using them for shallow water pan fishing.
Which is what we do the vast majority of the time.
And that's why, what are you targeting, and how do you like to fish? If you're a guy who carries a sled, or maybe you take your whole truck, and you can have a whole little rod locker with you full
ATV.
of rods. Go nuts, man.
Clubhouse on the ice.
Yeah.
Like, pre-built shanty with a TV in it.
You bring the bar out with you or whatever, right? Like I totally get, like there's nothing wrong with it. It's great.
Never leave home without it.
That's not how we fish. We fish ponds, we fish big lakes, we fish all new water all the time. And because
we drag sleds around.
And we drag sleds like walking. That's how we fish, which means I think 6 rods is the most that I'm pretty much gonna carry. That at the most. My goal is to carry 4, unless I think that it's gonna be one of those days where I don't know what I'm doing and if I wanna just save tying and untying really tiny jigs more often than not.
Which is not fun when you're cold.
I ideally like to have 3 to 4 ultralight pan fishing rods so that I have a couple of different jig options and I can go ahead and just grab a different rod, switch the plastic, and I'm not tying and untying, tiny lures in the freezing cold. And then 1 or 2 larger rods for targeting if we get into some bass, if we see some walleye, I want to have at least 1 rod that's a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, and maybe I could throw a minnow on that setup. So 4 to 6 is what I go for, and all of those ultralight rods, the 3 to 4 of those, are going to be inlines, and then the 1 or 2 larger ones, I'm going to have a spinning rig. That's just how I fish. That's kind of the mentality that creates my setup.
And how do you store all those rods, Paul?
I use a bucket, dude. I mean,
show us your fancy pants bucket that you use, guy.
This is the fanciest way that you can carry. No, I'm just kidding. This is to me the easiest way to carry rods.
$8.99. Yeah. You can get one at Lowe's for $5.
Confirmed, right? There is another option as well, right?
You can just hold this for me for a second. So this is the Eagle Claw. I'm just gonna smack you in the face with it. Rod locker. You can see there's all these foam inserts in here which have slots for your rods. So this should hold like 6 to 8 rods pretty easily. Heavy latch system. It is a giant bazooka case, like this is your sniper rifle, whatever you want to call it. But latches are decent. It holds up really well. I used it all season last season. It fits in the sleds that we have. We have like slightly larger sleds because we do take a shanty out with us just in case, we find a spot we want to just drop
post up,
hang out. And then we have like a bucket or 2, camera gear, like all this other stuff. So this was nice because versus the bucket, what I had happening to me is like your reels, lines, jigs, they can get all tangled up. I got annoyed by it. This keeps them separate, and then I can toss stuff in my sled without worrying about it landing on a rod or snapping a rod or dropping a rod. Like I know where they all are at all times, and they're super secure.
The bucket can become an issue if you're carrying more than 4 rods. I think 4 rods you're probably okay. Anything
like
more
6,
than
7, 8,
anything
done.
More than 4,
done.
A single bucket becomes an issue, right?
But again, the bucket is $5 to $10. This is $50.
The bucket also holds all your fish if you're keeping them. It also holds extra plastics. It holds trash. It can do a lot of other things.
Multi-use.
It's definitely where I'd recommend starting.
I wouldn't throw fish in here. That would be silly. But for $50, I think it's a big value. Honestly, if you're thinking about upgrading the arsenal, you want to carry more rods, I think the rod locker is kind of a must. That's probably the cheapest / most effective one on the market. There's a ton out there, but I would encourage you guys to check that one out if you want to stock up. Now, let's get to heavier fishing setup, shall we?
Yep. So for me, a heavier fishing setup we talked about a little bit is anything like medium or above. Anything medium light or below, I think is maybe panfish / you're getting into walleye.
Yeah.
But then as you get medium and above, you're talking about, it's insane. This
is my monster rod that I never ever really fish with because, again, mostly what we do is panfish. So this would be great. We do have a few spots where we could do this, but like lake trout. You know, like essentially this is a big fish rod for me. I might want it a little bit longer, but like big walleye, lake trout, whatever, pike, you know, bigger species. I'm throwing heavier jigging spoons on it. This is a Northland Tackle buckshot, right? So it's a rattling spoon, but I can jig that pretty deep too. I mean, we got decent line capacity on this thing. Yeah, this is like 140, 150 yards, whatever. So plenty of line. And I can go a little heavier on the line. Look at, this is the most insane part about this setup is, check this out. By the way, this is the Abu Garcia Veritas Ice, and it comes as a combo. I want to say it was like sub $70. It was actually pretty inexpensive. I probably got it on sale too. But like, look at how much room is on this. So you're wearing gloves, and you can fit your hand in here pretty easily. I can't touch the line, but honestly, I'm fishing for big fish, so I don't really need to sensitivity.
That's the thing. Bigger, when you're using larger lures, sensitivity is not as much of an issue. Sensitivity is a premium for ice fishing no matter what. I want to be clear. But it's less important when you're using jigging rods and you're going super deep water. It's less of an issue. And you just need a bigger setup if you're targeting bigger fish. Now, there are some things that I don't like about this setup.
Oh, for sure.
Specifically, I actually don't like this.
That's
like
huge.
To me, this feels like they used a frame from a current like spinning reel in order to make this a less expensive combo. I don't love like the bulk of this whole thing in general. I cannot stand the size of these guides. These are way too big for me. You do get 4, which is nice. You get the hook holder, which is nice. It is a decent reel seat, but I don't like this plastic bit right here. It takes you completely, you can actually see there's a space there. It takes you right off the rod. So there's just some things I don't like about it. I do think that it's a readily available, less expensive combo, which is nice. And again, sensitivity is like less important of a factor. So all that stuff is not as big of a deal. But again, as you escalate your skill set, there's things that you just find that you really want to see in a setup. And that for me, yes, it works. Not exactly my favorite though.
This is also basically living in my rod locker 90% of our ice fishing season. But if you're out there going after like mostly walleye and bigger fish, like for sure, you're going to want to have some of these and probably longer than this.
You're going to want to see again, medium for larger fish. You're going to see medium, medium or above, right? Medium heavy, heavy. And then you're going to want to see a little bit longer rod. Like Jeff said, I want to see probably 26 inches, 24 inches at least going up from there. And then you are going to want to look for some decent features like smaller guides if you can get a hold of them. And then you're going to want to have a spitting setup on there for sure.
And that's why I think this white noise is a pretty solid rod option.
Who got you that? Oh, yeah.
Some weird guy. Got me as a Christmas present one year. So yeah, this is the white noise that Paul picked up for me. You can see again, I showed it a little bit ago. So that's a 26-inch medium, and it's got like this slower action there. So this is not a fast action tip. It's a little bit of a maybe more moderate, I guess I would say. You got the smaller guides on that. And this for me, now that I've swapped it out to the spinning reel, I'm going to use a lot more. I didn't use it too much last year. I didn't really love the Descent Inline paired up with this. And with it being a medium, it's honestly something I'm going to use when I'm targeting slightly bigger fish. But let's say we're on a pond where we know there's bass, and I know there's big bass, like the lake that I live on. If I go out there and I'm like, I could potentially catch like a 2, a 3, a 4 pounder, then I kind of love this for that. I think that this will allow me to, use like some bigger spoons and different stuff like that, maybe even some blade baits or something if I want to get crazy, and potentially live bait too. So this would be like my go-to heavier setup. I'm grabbing this well before I'm grabbing this. I've actually, the only time I really aggressively use this, we were on one of the biggest lakes in Michigan, Higgins Lake. And I can tell you because it's like a vacation destination. I don't care.
It's not a hidden secret.
I'm not burning spots. Yeah. And they do have trout there. So I was targeting and we were in deep water. How deep? That was like 100 feet. Yeah. We were like just jigging spoons in 100 feet of water. So that was the only time, honestly, I've really used this. Yep. Other than that, sits in the rod locker. But if I get a chance to go on that kind of trip, I mean, okay, I'll bust this out. Otherwise, I'm using this most of the time.
And I like that setup for the money too, Jeff. It's like $25 rod and covers a ton covers a ton of ground. Has a lot of things you're looking for. Yeah. I would agree. For me, we kind of covered medium, light. This is like probably the cheapest. I don't even know how much these are, but I know they're not expensive. Baby. Ugly Stick GX2. This is a medium heavy.
Combos are sub $35.
Yep, and I do have that 13 Fishing spinning setup on here as well, the Thermo Ice. Pretty inexpensive combo. Again, covers a ton of ground on heavier fish. You can already see the types of lures that I'm putting on there. So some of the things that make this though a good setup for the money, you get that Ugly Stick tip, right? So it's actually a pretty soft tip. This makes, even though this is a medium heavy, makes it a great live bait rod, makes it a decent jigging rod. And then, with the spinning rig on here, and then this being a 30-inch rod, this actually, again, covers a ton of ground for me. So I'm not carrying as many big rods, but if I end up in a place where I'm like, I do want to live bait, like Jeff said, I do want to maybe run some larger baits, it's actually a pretty solid setup for almost no money. So something I don't do as often, don't need super premium. I can get away with murder on this one. So cheap, effective, solid.
Literal murder, because we make fish tacos a lot of the time. Yeah, and by the way, if you guys want to see some ice fishing lures, if you want to see how we organize our ice fishing lures that we're using to catch all these fish with, then let us know in the comments. We'll do a lures video. Because we'll go from full spectrum, from ultralight, super tiny jigs, all the way up to what he was just showing there, like liplesses, blade baits, bigger spoons, all those stuff. So, and we'll show you how we store it.
I mean, to wrap it up, you need to think about species first. That's where you're going to start making your decision on your combo. Next, it's really what kind of water are you going to be in? Like, are you going to be in super deep water? Are you going to be shallow water? How do you like to fish, right? Where are you going to find those fish? So, rules of thumb, things to think about. Shallow water pan fishing, I want probably a light, ultralight. And I want to have, maybe if I'm shallow water fishing, an inline rig, and that's probably something I'm willing to pay for to get that really solid presentation on those ultra tiny jigs. And then as I go up in species, I want maybe a little bit longer rod, but really I want to get into that medium light, medium, maybe even medium heavy if it's real big fish. And I want to make sure that I have a spinning setup. If I'm looking for the most flexible setup for the least amount of money, I probably want a 30-inch medium light or a light. That if I was going to have one rig, that's what I would grab. I would want one that has, again, 4 guides before you hit the rod tip, and I want to have a spinning reel. It's a little bit cheaper, covers a lot more ground, will last you a long time, and that is going to be like my one do-it-all rig. And then as you get better, I think you can start shortening up that rod tip a little bit. Maybe upgrade some of your equipment to an inline if you're really looking to like get that ultra sensitivity with the best presentation, and then kind of figure out what you like. So that's just where I would start.
And again, price-wise, if you guys are starting out, if you're a brand new beginner like I was 2 seasons ago, start with the super cheap stuff. The 13 Fishing Thermo Ice is an amazing combo.
For the money.
Just get it. Just get it. Just do that. So if your first combo you want to get that. And then if you want to go like first inline, the Descent is pretty solid. And then as you upgrade, that's $40. You jump another, $35 above that. You get the Freefall Ghost. Then from there you could upgrade to maybe like the Black Betty level, like whatever. And then as far as the rods go, you can move up as you improve your skill set over time. Because again, like once that you increase your skill, we talked about this a little bit ago. As your skill goes up, that's when it makes sense to upgrade the quality, the value of the products that you're using. Because then you can really actually benefit from it. Buying more expensive stuff, I think we can all agree, doesn't make you a better fisherman or a woman.
100%.
It does not. So like as your skill set goes up, then increase the value of the products you're using to match where you're at. That I think is like, if you take away anything from this video, it'd be that. All right, you guys, hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, be sure to subscribe, smash a like, ring the notification bell. As always, comment below. Let us know what you guys thought. Let us know what your ice fishing arsenal is. And let us know if you want to see lures video, what's in the sled video, like all that kind of stuff. We'd be happy to do it. Maybe even set up our shanty and shoot inside of that. It could happen. We're not going to have ice here for a little while, so bear with us. There will be a mixture of ice fishing, bass fishing, unboxing, you know, all sorts of reviews and different kind of content like that. We do have holidays coming up.
Yeah.
So there's lots of product reviews coming out. We dropped a few on tackle backpacks, so go back and check those videos out. But we appreciate you guys. We hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you on the next video.